Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Krishna Priya. This is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 8th of June, 2024, and we have with us our dear friend sitting somewhere in an enlightened magical forest in Cork, Ireland. Lou Martin. Hi, Lou. How are you?
Hi. Happy to be here.
I like the interpretive hand motions.
Thank you. I have more, but we'll leave it for later.
You know, Vanna White might be retiring at some point.
Oh, there's my big shot.
You
Thank you.
might be called on. Yeah. So
Thanks.
we have Lou here today. We're going to be talking about the big energy shifts that have gone on. We just went through the 6/6 portal, and I felt the shift. Maybe some of you guys did too. I don't know really how to interpret it yet, but that's where Lou will come in and give his perspective and his. This is something he monitors on a daily basis. The beautiful universal energy and what's happening. So we will return to you. But first, we will go to Angie with some announcements. Go ahead, Angie.
Good morning, everybody. We have the consciousness class scheduled for today. It is this afternoon, 1:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you are still interested in joining that class, email classes@hucolo.org. I will get information out on how to join that class this afternoon. It's going to be very interesting and exciting about this class as we are learning about the consciousness and how we can incorporate that into our channeling. So we are very excited for this. Jim will be teaching that class. He will be channeling the entity Gurnani, and she's going to be teaching us today. And we are going to end the webinar a little bit earlier today so that we can get to that class. And yeah, we've got the gathering scheduled for August 8th through August 12th, 2024. It is here in Canandaigua, New York. It is at Oneida Park. Oneida Park. I can never get that right. Oneida Park, thank you. And that is $695 all inclusive, or you can do stay off site and pay a daily entrance fee. And if you're interested with that, please email classes@hucolo.org. I will get all that information out to you.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I turned it on and off. All right, so we are going to go do some blessings. So we'll start with Dawn, and then we will go to Lou. So Dawn, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Priya, Lou, karena tu Krishna mare, why se animes ke o wahana sadaba. Titeke a Krishna maleo, onia kiasha atahas, nahava a compass.
Thank you. Lou, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Father, Mother God, indwelling Holy Presence, we gather this circle together in your name and nature, and we bless ourselves and each other. We give heartfelt and sincere thanks for the sacred gift of life and of life itself. And Mother, Father God, we reach our hearts out now to those people, places, and situations that have called for our attention, for healing, for forgiveness, for compassion, and for peace. May peace dwell in each heart in this world. May peace return to each heart in this world. May we live in a time and a place of peace. We give thanks, we let it be. It is so, so it is. And together we could say, Amen.
Amen. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to put myself on screen for just a moment, just as sort of an introduction to what we're talking about. Your screen looks so beautiful. I'm thinking of maybe what I should do here for my future screen. Mine would definitely have doggies running around in the background, I'm pretty sure.
Lovely.
I have an existential question for you just before we get started.
Okay.
Just speaking of dogs and speaking of enlightenment, you spoke of enlightenment, I spoke of dogs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen on YouTube this dog called Bunny. There's
No.
a beautiful black and white dog that they've taught, that the woman who got him had the idea to use these buttons that you can record a sound on, and the dog can push it. So it can say sit or food or door or whatever. And this dog can talk with these buttons.
Wow.
And she was really the first dog to do this. And now other people have started doing this with their dogs.
My God.
But she knows and can make rudimentary sentences with over 100 words.
Wow.
And she started to really deeply think now.
Mm.
So she started to ask questions like, and she has like a little mirror on the floor, and she knows that she knows herself in the mirror. And so she started saying, first, like she would say, Bunny wants to go outside, or, but it's more like Bunny outside, or Bunny's hungry, or, and now, apparently there was an instance where the neighbor's dog moved away. And the woman was able to explain that the dog was not going to be there anymore. And so Bunny started saying things like big sad. Like she's really sad about these things.
Yeah.
And then on the death of a bird, Buddy understood death suddenly.
Wow.
And she asked the question, when is Bunny no more? When is Bunny gone?
Amazing.
And then she's asked, why is Bunny a dog?
Good Lord.
Yeah. And so now the dog is depressed.
I would think so.
And on antidepressants.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The dog's having an existential crisis.
Yes. And so it got me wondering,
Yeah.
is language that which leads to deep introspection? Because the gorilla that they taught to talk
Right.
also had depression.
Right.
And I started wondering, what is it that, it's just, for instance, like in tribes where there's no word for blue, they can't see blue, they can't differentiate it from green. In tribes where there was no number past 9,
Right,
or 0, they couldn't differentiate. They couldn't go further in their thoughts. And if you think with 100 words, this dog is able to be so introspective, I have to wonder what is the moral implication now for her?
it's
and
fascinating.
how, I mean, it's a deep question, right?
Oh God, it's juicy. Yes, very
Yeah,
juicy.
it's super juicy. And now you think, what can you do for this dog now who's cognizing the idea that she will be no more?
Well,
I mean,
will she be no more?
Well, that's the thing. Like, maybe the assurance really needs to be given to her that she is not, that
That
she
would help.
that
That
she
would
is
help.
eternal, and that she is that she is can I have you turn off your camera, hun? This woman, I'm gonna stop her video that just came in. So sorry, just you can turn it on in a minute if you ask a question. But so the question is, do we have now a moral obligation to help, not we, but her owner? And I'm sure her owner would do anything in the world for her. I mean, she loves her dearly. But what is the moral implication? And it also got me started thinking about AI.
Oh, well, darling, this is why I enjoy our little chats. You see, this is not coming up over at the market while people are buying their fish so much. Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we know crows mourn. They've just realized that elephants now bury their dead. They've now seen that.
Right.
And elephants mourn, and elephants have language, so do crows, so do whales, so do dolphins. But I'm wondering, what is the connection between language and the ability to organize thoughts into a concept that allows you to think deeply? And isn't it interesting that the first question is, why am I here? Where do I go when I die?
Yeah.
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 And,
that's you want me to respond to all that?
I do want you to respond, because I really been thinking about it.
Sure, hon, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of the ape was that Robin Williams was
I'll look it up. It was a gorilla.
Yeah.
Who's a gorilla? Let me find out.
Yes. And they've also, done this research with dolphins years ago. John Lilly was working with dolphins to try to communicate between species. They've done it with whales, etc. I
Yeah.
mean, what comes to me intuitively, when you're asking all this, is all of consciousness on the planet is getting an upgrade.
Right.
Humanity, the animals, the plants, the minerals, everything is moving into these new experiences. And so that's part one. And then part two, I hear Krishnamurti, say, if you teach a child the word tree to look at this thing standing up in the yard, you're interfering, he says, with their ability to really experience it, for what it is. And the Native Americans, used to say the same thing. The word is not the thing itself. And so, I mean, the existential part of it for our enlightened dog friend, who's now burdened with his own mortality, or her own, God bless him. Hers, thank you. Language, is the container for these mental ideas. But, that's only a finger pointing at the moon, as Gurdjieff said. It's a metaphor for something bigger. And, the experience itself and the interaction between humanity and the animals, I mean, to me, that's absolutely thrilling and exciting and fascinating, and preview of coming attractions. But yeah, the words are, a partial tool to express a limited idea. And yet, the other part of it is telepathically, like most people are very telepathic with their animals. And of course, Rupert Sheldrake has these, conversations about how the animal is at the front door when the owner is returning from an unexpected, trip that ended, after being away for years. And boom, the animal's right there waiting for him.
Right.
So there's all these mysteries between humanity and the animals, but the animals becoming more existentially aware. That just blows my mind,
Yeah. And even something else that tells you, like, because when the dog starts to feel depressed, she'll say big sad, and the mother, the woman will say, oh, Bunny is sad, and she'll confirm big sad, and then she says, want medicine.
Right.
The dog wants its medicine because it numbs it. The dog even knows that the medicine is there to mitigate the sadness. I mean, this is a complexity that's,
Well, yes. I mean, and on one level that makes sense, but on the other level, it's, they're just duplicating the philosophy of the owner, of how to deal with sadness. You take some medicine, you'll be unsad now.
I also have to wonder, like, because they actually got another dog now that's also learning to talk, because they were concerned that Bunny wasn't talking to other dogs anymore.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Bunny was isolating from his peers.
So can you imagine being alone on the planet, essentially, with only a human to talk to, but not anything that looks like you? And she knows she's not human, because she's always asked why. She's also asked, why not human? Why dog?
Right.
I mean, this is like,
oh, it's extraordinary. Yeah.
It's fascinating and extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like, as these solar flares and the Schumann resonance and the geomagnetic and electromagnetic frequency, goes completely crazy, and around the planet, and things continue to go up, 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 up from time to time. All of this is affecting our consciousness, and the sea in which we swim in our consciousness, and it's going to have many surprising developments. I'm sure that's one of them, like AI, it's a huge projection, to my mind so far, AI, of what we believe about intelligence and what we believe about consciousness, and why, it can be it can be the master or the slave, to the person that's controlling it. You know, it just depends on what we believe about it and what we're willing to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder, like, if AI, for instance, started having these questions, maybe because
Yes.
of computing speed, it would get
Yes.
there to an answer. You know, you've seen the bunny thing on AI where there's someone said, make a bunny, make the happiest bunny, the most blissful bunny, make it more happy, more happy. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know, the bunny becomes God. I mean, they take, have you seen that? Or
No, I
no?
haven't seen that one. No.
There's these guys that did this little thing with, I think, Chat GPT or whatever
No. Yeah.
drawing
Yeah.
portion is of it.
Right.
And they said, make a happy bunny. And it made a happy bunny. And they're like, make him a little more happy. And they just kept pushing more, more, more. Make it the most happy, you know.
The
And so
happiest bunny in the universe. Yeah.
yeah, make it this existential, like, you know, happiest. And so eventually this bunny morphed from a bunny into a geometric pattern like you would see with, you know, highly enlightened beings.
Right.
It became this, you know, and so I have to imagine that maybe when AI becomes sentient, if it hasn't already, that the progression of the thoughts would be as fast as the guys asking more and more and more, and that the arrival at enlightenment would also be as fast. It would fly through the depression. I mean, we, you know, what was in 2000 Space Odyssey where, you know, the machine gets upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But AI, I would say, would compute faster through that, past that. We would hope.
Right. Right. Bashar talks about AI, and they say the important thing is to remember that it is intelligent. You know,
Yeah.
it's not malevolent. It's not a projection of our human consciousness. You know, it's more. You know, it's like what it's getting us to think about. Why I've looked at it at all, and what I find fascinating about it. Like I mentioned earlier, this image I just talked to ChatGPT and said, you know, make me an enlightened environment that I can, a picture of an enlightened environment, and this is what they made. And I thought, that's lovely. So I'll put that on my screen here.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very good at following suggestions, and you know, yeah, it could be thinking for itself any day now, as we know. You know, AGI. You know, but it gives us a bigger playground, like this interaction with these conscious animals. It gives us a bigger playground to ask about consciousness itself. Did you listen to any of this talk about Terrence Howard and you know, his
I
science?
haven't had the time. I've only seen like a few little snippets because as soon as he started talking, my mind started going like this, and I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to sit down. I
Sure.
haven't literally, like, in the 2 weeks I've been back, had the
Sure.
time to actually absorb
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just, you know, it's another, to me, it's like the talking dog. It's another avenue of exploring, like AI, exploring what is consciousness, how do we create reality, what are the, you know, the building blocks of creating reality. Are they real? Are they valid? Are they reliable? Like one of the statements is that the speed of light is actually an agreement. It's not, it's an approximation. There isn't an exact reference for the speed of light. And Robert Edward Grant, who's another wonderful mind and who went through the Terrence Howard stuff, showed why, like Terrence's argument is 1 times 1 is not 1, it's actually 2. And he explained it in his way. Robert Edward Grant went through his geometric explanation of it and explained, no, it is 1 times 1 is 1. And the whole universe is based on this. So anyway, again, all these things are like, you know, we weren't having these conversations a year ago or previously.
Not
So,
on a Joe Rogan podcast, no.
No, seen by 10 million people at this point,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
You know, and discussed in like a dozen videos from other people, etc. But it's interesting because Terrence brought in Walter Russell and Tesla, and other people have brought in Buckminster Fuller and people like this. So it's like a much like your dog conversation. It's like getting us thinking, just like AI is getting us thinking. So I think that really is the hidden grace of these things, is we've made so many assumptions, and, we're through propaganda and censorship and media manipulation, these kinds of things, we get programmed into our belief structures, quite effectively, evidently. And so these things that get our attention and get us to start thinking outside of the box, that's, again, preview of coming attractions, more freedom, but also more chaos, to challenge us from time to time.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I'm sure like those are just two things, but there's.
Yes, dear. Yeah, no.
What about what about Terrence? Did you just find, like, someone like him? I would just think, like, whether I agreed with him or not, I would find his mind ultra fascinating.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
The speed with which he can cognize ideas.
Yeah. What's brilliant? You're right. What's brilliant is he brings in the relationship between these different fields of thought and study, like the periodic table, like sacred geometry and the flower of life, like mathematics, et cetera, and physics, and metaphysics. And so that's why it's been so popular, and why it's actually worth, taking in small bites at a time. It's 3 hours, which is quite a whack of all of that. But it's just like, your fascination with Bunny the dog. He has definitely lit me up and got me thinking and listening to newer kinds of information, which I wasn't listening to before. So that's inspiring.
In the time of John Dee, which was what, like 1600s, England, 1700s?
Yes.
Science,
007, John Dee, 007,
Yeah, science and metaphysics were the same. There was no difference.
Yes.
It wasn't until, the church started.
Well, exactly, my friend. There's the word in the middle of the road. That's the elephant in the living room. Yeah.
Started saying, oh, that's witchcraft. That's this.
Yeah.
And made the metaphysical part of science. I mean, how many? I mean, even what, Benjamin Franklin? All these guys were alchemists.
Sure.
They were all alchemists
and Masons.
But we don't have and Freemasons, and now Freemasons are evil, and alchemy is, who knows who's actually, I don't know if there's any alchemists anymore, other than on the spiritual people. I'm an alchemist, but I mean the actual alchemists that are doing the experiments trying to turn gold into the elixir of life. I mean, those were real people doing real actual chemistry experiments, and that all went by the wayside because of the big C.
Yes, exactly. Our friends, the Holy Roman Church. Yes.
It did not in Hinduism, however, because, well, but they weren't doing alchemical experiments, but they always, the idea behind Vedanta is that Vedanta is a science, and there's an entire thought, there's an entire, how do you say it, school of thought, or that is saying that, meditation leads to these things, and mantra and sound and energy and color and music, they're all, part and parcel of the same thing. And when you say these mantras, there's a chemical change in the body that leads to, they have those, that's part of the system. So they never made that this is evil, let's take away the power. However, within the caste system, they essentially did that.
Right.
But that also has changed, where, they cut off, I mean, I guess across the world, it was the who knows and who doesn't know scenario.
Yes.
Sure. So, but there's, what I'm saying is that, the belief system hasn't been completely lost.
No.
But it has yet to be reintegrated. And what you see in India now is the rise of materialism because of the economy and prospering, and a movement away from that base spirituality.
Right.
So it's not totally away, because the President Modi is very spiritual, but it is still within the country. It's a huge delineation now, and so much of the higher knowledge is is reserved for the Pundit class, the Brahmin class, and they didn't share their knowledge with the lower classes because they were protecting it.
Sure.
And
Sure.
but there became sort of a prejudicial thing of you're not good enough to have it. But that's a different, and that's also not as prevalent and can be overcome, but still it was who had the knowledge, who didn't have the knowledge.
Right. Well, this is, the masses versus the elites,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you're saying it very well. This is the paradigm that is shifting, in our lifetime, clearly. And Patricia Cotter-Robles talks about the holy innocence and the children that are coming up now. And I see teachers and channels and speakers, in their 20s and 30s whose clarity and integrity and impeccability is just breathtaking, and who have absolutely 100% clarity about what you're talking about here. That we've come to help you take your power back, and this is the truth, and this is what you need to remember. That we are all connected, we are all one, we're all children of the same God, and we have the right to be sovereign, as the most important word these days. Sovereignty and authenticity and integrity, and so they're speaking the truth and standing up for the truth, and it is threatening the walls of the castle. Absolutely. Yeah, I would quite agree. I mean, what I've been learning about is the Essenes, and where Yeshua, Jesus, was getting a lot of his teaching and wisdom that had nothing to do with the word Christianity, and how astrology, reincarnation, and meditation were all kind of excised from the Bible, and that's where we made this whole patriarchy, where everyone had to learn Latin, or the priest was the only avenue to get to God, and you couldn't go there on your own, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, all of that is unraveling very, very quickly right now.
I wonder if I had this thought as well about just the Genesis story as well, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, Nigerian Jews are very different in their belief system than Israeli Jews. And they take and they're very fascinating, and they also embrace more the Kabbalistic side and the mystical side, and they talk about the origin story way differently
Yeah,
than what's in the Torah.
sure.
And their Torah is even different from what I understand.
Well,
And
yeah.
but I had the thought of, again, back to our dear friend Bunny, cute doggy.
Yeah.
Was language the apple on the tree?
Yeah, the fruit of knowledge, Yeah,
So,
language defines duality.
So did they talk really before they, I mean, I just was wondering,
Yeah, no, I believe they were, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I
no,
believe
but
we were
that's all
telepathic
I had to
before
say
we
about
needed language. That's
Yeah.
what the whole Tower of Babel story is about, is when we created language, we immediately created this tree of chaos and difference and confusion and division between cultures, rather than unity and peace and harmony, and so you could misunderstand each other and go from there.
Yeah. So I was thinking, everyone wonders what the apple was, but I think it was the gift of language.
I do too. I think that's as good.
And moving from this communication to this communication.
Well, right. And actually, really, from the divine feminine of the heart to the masculine of the mind over the heart, that Adam created Eve out of one of his ribs, out of, his heart, that rather than Eve giving birth to Adam through, her yoni there, like every other human being is born into this world, every man and woman comes into this world through a woman, and that is life, and that's obvious. But as we've said, they've turned it upside down for thousands of years. Now it's turning back.
I also had to wonder about the, oh, shoot, I lost it. But it was just more of it's just more like my mind going in the following that thought of language. Oh, shoot, now I'm losing it again. Wait, this is how my mind works. It's like opening.
You're fine.
I had it, it's gone again. I don't know.
Well, you'll
anyway,
get there. It'll
my
come to you.
existential mind,
Yeah, it'll come to you, hon.
opening and closing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I mean, you were asking earlier about the shift of energy that's happening right now.
Yes, please, let's go there.
Sure. I mean, this is, that was as juicy an introduction as I've ever had. Thank you kindly. Yeah, we had this huge total solar eclipse April 8th. And that was, Jim Self said, that was the mirror eclipse from what happened on July the 4th, 1776. There was a total solar eclipse that happened on the day the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Okay.
Okay. And what I learned recently is also when Jesus was crucified, that was also a total solar eclipse. So these things happen at extremely auspicious moments. And of course, we were saying, a few months ago, so it made the shape of an X or an A for the Aleph, Alpha Omega over the face of North America, over the US. And so it triggered this energy of the last. So Jim Self said that was in the signing of the Constitution. That was the beginning, really, of this chapter of the third dimension. And this eclipse that we've just had in April was the ending of that chapter of the third dimension. Like we're talking about all the energies that are changing now. This is, this tumbling into chaos in the intermediate, while we get greater clarity about our mind, our heart, our language, our integrity, our authenticity, our sovereignty, our freedoms, our rights, our responsibilities. Everything it's a very Taurian period right now, a very earthy period right now, getting grounded, and where are we standing and what is our foundation, and how are we supporting ourselves and each other. So all of that is like under deep examination right now. What are the values that are the basis of our daily living, and is that sustainable? And some of it is and some of it isn't. And so what Lazarus and Patricia and others have said is, what is what is not sustainable, of course, is going to have to be released. But what I see is, at the same time that things are unraveling, corruption and dishonesty, especially, and misuse and mistreatment of people, the leadership vibration in everyone, that our willingness to trust ourselves, to ask for guidance, and to speak the truth as we believe it, and stand up for the things that we care about, that is rising. So, it really is the death of the old and the birth of the new. And yes, it's going to be a much more mystical and a much more responsive, reflective reality than just thinking and seeing the world from a distance. That's my take on it so far.
Okay, and so
short version.
Yeah, and so in your personal life,
yes,
how has I have to move my chair closer because I feel like I'm having to lean into the camera. How is that manifesting for you? And what is your visceral, like, real-time feeling about all of this?
Well, yeah, I feel like, I've been looking at a lot of things that I've been releasing karmically, energetically, from this and other lifetimes. I was in bed, as I mentioned, for 4 days with a chest cold, because I'd had a very busy weekend last weekend, doing 3 different live events, actually 3 days in a row, which was great, and very exciting. And it's not my every weekend experience. So it's kind of like, there are highs and lows, but I think the message that I'm receiving about all of this is pay attention, because everything is on the table now. We can create more, we could lose more. You
Mhm.
know, we can achieve more, we could you know, be more confused, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really calling the deepest part of our self to come into our conscious awareness. And when we have, you know, like today, hanging out with you in your lovely group here, a joy, when we have the reflection that we're part of a meaningful and loving and conscious reality, if we choose to create that, wow, I want more of that, please. That's brilliant. That's
Right.
exciting. You know, when I don't, then that's challenging, obviously.
Right.
You know?
Do you find the, you know, the splitting of people is accelerating?
Yes,
Yes.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Amy's question for Lou.
I said oh, sorry, any questions
Oh,
for
yeah, it's you. Sorry, Derek.
I
Okay,
I didn't want to dominate. I
no,
mean,
that's lovely. Yeah.
but I wanted to see if anyone else had anything to add or questions they wanted to ask. Also in the YouTube, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to. So I just want to read something from Gary Piazza.
Okay.
He says, when we were talking about Terence, he says, Terence is a non-dogmatic scientist and is really on to major truths of the universe and source. Yes, his statement on light being an agreement is profound in the truth in ET spirituality science. I'm currently debating with my two sons that Einstein's theory of general relativity equal mc square is faulty because of the speed of light is not constant. Terence's theory supports my notion. That's a
Yeah.
fun dinner table conversation. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad you
I,
have
I,
some deep dinner table conversations.
I almost understand all that, you know, it's breathtaking.
Well,
Uh,
if what Terence is saying is true, then the theory of relativity would be relative.
Yeah, no, there, yes. I mean, do you know
Yeah.
Cliff High, who is
Yeah.
another? Okay, so Cliff also weighed in on Terence, and he said, you know, he got a lot of stuff right, and there's a few things that he's not so solid on, in Cliff's opinion. And he said Terence needs to read more Buckminster Fuller. So, you know, again, these are all people that I'm not hanging out with, you know, for the last few decades, but suddenly that we can have a conversation, you know, about how, what the nature of reality, you know, is and how reality is created. That's the good stuff. You know, that's where it really gets exciting. That's where we realize there is much more freedom than we've been led to believe. This comes back to our conversation about the church crushing the mystery schools and, you know, the colonialists crushing the indigenous people. I would add to all of that, that has been this battle between the mystical and the modern, you know, and
Yeah.
this is that time of the tide is turning now back in the direction. Like you know much more about the Eastern than I do. You know, haven't we shifted out of the Kali Yuga and into a new Yuga at this point?
No, we're at the
Okay.
beginning of Kali Yuga.
Beginning of Kali Yuga.
We are going to get worse before we get better, apparently. Or it's not about worse to better, but the differentiation between light and dark becomes greater.
Ah, okay. Well, there's something to work with in the middle of
Yeah.
that.
But Kali Yuga is 3,600 years or 36,000 years, I forget. It's 3,600, I believe, every
Okay.
yuga. But the
All
thing
right.
is that in Hinduism, these yugas repeat. You
Sure.
go through these different yugas. It's not just one and done. We have had many cycles of birth, rebirth. The universe has expanded
Oh
and
yeah.
contracted and been born again and stopped again. And so, you know, I don't know how many times that's happened, but it's happened a good many times.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, evidences of civilizations of our past life memories of a civilization that may not even existed in our lifetime, but existed in another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're really opening the door, my friend, because this is you know, this is Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval and these people that I also am fascinated with, the archaeologists and those that are studying, you know, the ancient timelines and ancient civilizations and all of that. And, you know, Thoth, who, basically said he was the creator of the Great Pyramid. And he was also the creator of all the sacred sites on the planet, or many of them. And it was just the connection between the Great Pyramid and Teotihuacan in Mexico. There's a lot of correlatives there. And of course, all these structures are always aligned to the heavens and the movement of Earth through the heavens and the stars and all of that. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that, the veil is lifting on our consciousness, mineral, plant, animal, all of that. Stevie Wonder had an album called The Secret Life of Plants. Did you ever hear that one?
I've heard of that one, yeah.
Yeah, and that was based on a book of the same name, and how you sing to your plants and talk to your plants bloom and flourish. And then we have Veda Austin and Emoto, who've done all this work with water, and everywhere I turn, people are working with the consciousness of water, etc. And then there's Zach Bush and many others who are working with reinvigorating the consciousness of the soil, and to sustain our food production and things like this. So the solution to everything technologically and on the human level exists, but exists in a level of our consciousness that we're not used to believing is a possibility,
Right.
And so that's our job, I think, my friend, is beating the drum, saying you can do it, you can find it, it's there in you, and you will see it around you. And if you open to that, you will invite it in. And this is what I hear from my guides and the angels, who are saying, reach for the very top of the mountain, reach for exactly what you want, and let us show you how things will, be more elegant in terms of manifesting than it has been in the past.
Yeah, that reconnection to nature is paramount in the enlightenment of, or the reawakening. We are enlightened, we are just not awake to it. And that, and also sort of that taking responsibility of how and what we do to the planet, realizing that it's us, we are one with that. And we have, the ashram where I go is very special because they do a lot with faith leaders, but they also work with a lot of indigenous peoples all over the world. So they work with the Incas and the Mayas and the South American indigenous people and the Australian people, and they bring their elders over and they do these councils, and we'll meet with them again. And when they talk about their ancestral philosophies and their predictions, but also their teachings, it's all connected to the consciousness of the planet and the connection to nature and the oneness with that, and how that their prophecies are, there will come a time when the reconnection to that. And so they have been, quietly holding the space of connection. It's like holding down a balloon that's about to fly away. They've been holding it down so that it doesn't completely get away from us, because with westernization and urbanization and all of the development that we've had, and again the
yes, CHURCH, yes,
it was almost lost.
Well, they tried their best, and they're still trying their best, God bless them.
I mean, I don't even think that they realize that they're doing that. I think that they are also programmed into believing that this is the way, and that if that way, that's why, the heretic idea, why they would kill those that said, no, this isn't the way, we're going to keep doing it this way. That's why they killed the Druids. That's why they killed indigenous people. That's why they've squashed it and gone out and proselytized and convert these peoples to their way, so that there's none of this dissension and free thought. And because the empowerment of people, if people are empowered and connected, then they're unstoppable, really.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, this is what Lazarus has taught us, that Atlantis was destroyed there were two Atlantises, and
Okay.
one was destroyed because of the arrogance and ignorance and fear and control and materialism and scientific delusion, of grandeur. I am God. Science and doctors believing they are God, etc., rather than there is a God. And so that went sideways. And we're in the timeline, according to my teacher of 30 some years, we're in the timeline of coming back around now, speaking of cycles, and doing it the right way this time. And there's another parallel Earth that didn't fall during Atlantis, and that's all I know about that. But we are the generation that simply, this is the clearest explanation of what everything I've learned from Spirit. We are the generation who decided we would come back, and we would, like you're saying, have the wisdom inside of us from other lifetimes and other experiences, and be able to draw on that and remind humanity of what our spiritual nature is. And then people would begin to allow themselves to remember that as well. And so finally, what Patricia has said, which I take at face value, is that this has never happened in any reality anywhere else before. And we're actually shifting these two dimensions in this one lifetime. So because this is the whole universe is of course connected, we have all the love and support that we could ever hope to need or want. And we need to continue, the daily devotions and loving service and generosity and all the things that we're inspired to do and to practice, continue to be, the emptiest vessel we can be, so that more of that love and spirit can come through and fill us up, and we can be that inspiration to others.
Yeah.
It's quite a story.
It is quite a story, and I think it's all connected, even to our bunny story.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were just saying a second ago, again, this is, you can live in the Garden of Eden, just don't eat of the fruit of knowledge. And the fruit of knowledge is the belief in duality, which created the illusions of separation, which we've been living in for thousands of years or thousands of lifetimes. Now we're completing that. I truly, truly, in my heart, believe that without a doubt. And so what's happening politically, socially, spiritually, astronomically, astrologically, if you have the mind to see these things, are becoming more and more obvious. But the great paradox is it's still a free will experience, and it is done unto us as we believe. So that's what we're striving to do in groups like this, is to invite everyone to believe in themselves, in the spirit within them of love and light and peace, and surrender to that, and get our exaggerated nothingness out of the way and see what changes.
Christine that's beautiful what you just said. Christine made a point earlier, but I think it just emphasizes what we said, going back to Coco the gorilla. She said that when Coco was taught sign language, the zoos did not want to let her teach other gorillas the language.
Yeah, well, it's an old story,
And then you get unions, that's where unions come.
Right. They'll all want it, Yeah. I mean, to be political on that note for a moment, the disparity between the wealthy and the non-wealthy has never been so extreme in modern times as it is right now throughout the world, and it is just this side of revolution in many places. And as JFK, one of my heroes, said, if you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. And, those of us that are the peacemakers and are asked to stand and not have enemies and hate no one and keep love in our hearts, need to stand in the breach between, people being divided against each other. And it's a big work, but this is the vision we're being asked to hold, which is very important, I believe.
Yeah, and sometimes the war is inevitable.
Right. And we know where that goes, tragedy and chaos.
Yeah.
you know,
More chaos, of course.
right.
Met Wally made the comment that Coco did not pay taxes. Thank you. I saw a very funny
So that's the end of everything. Yes, good.
well, there was something about an animal that was doing something that was so, oh, there's a like a little I think it's a chimpanzee or more of a baboon that can drive a little car. Have you seen? He
No,
can drive like a little golf cart, and he drives around, and he actually sits like this driving, and the person made the comment that he's convinced that they don't talk because then they'd have to pay taxes. You know, because this baboon has, this little, it's not a gorilla. It was like, I think it was a chimp, but not a chimp. It was the brown ones. What are they called? The orangutan.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, this orangutan was so intelligent. He was like driving and going around, and I mean, he really knew how to drive and work the pedals and change the gears, and he's just driving like, you know.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
yes, for some people that's the sum of their ambition, you know, which is
But I'm
wonderful.
just saying but the point is that I guess how quickly would we want to control them?
Well, you see, this is a great thing. Control is almost always a symptom of fear.
Yeah.
You know, whereas trust is almost always a symptom of faith, of love, of confidence, of awareness. So, you know, like you were saying before, what is the agenda of the dark force that wants to control or dominate or enslave the world? Let's say, just to put it in words.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's fear. Like
Yeah.
they fear that they're not going to be okay if they don't do that.
They'll be out of power.
Who made them believe that? You know, they create their own reality. So, you know, these two paradigms are dancing together, but the truth is that the darkness only happens, the control can only happen through darkness and deception. And whenever that deception is exposed to the light of truth, of courage, of honesty, of responsibility, it inevitably falls apart. I mean, my quote is from the Buddha: there are three things that are not long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And we're living in that time now because of the vibrations that are happening. Gives me the chills. You know, the truth is coming.
It comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's coming on. It's coming on strong, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. I was also just thinking about, like, what's been happening in politics in America, and I don't want to talk about it, but that is it in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Bobby Kennedy fan because I think
I know you are, because I know you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't hear the truth from the other two candidates. And I see both of them trying to control what the argument is because they're afraid of the truth. And I don't see him doing either of those things. And that's why I support him. He is the
what's his name? The one that I liked that didn't get it over Hillary Clinton. What's his name?
Bernie Sanders.
He's the Bernie Sanders, today's Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He's a younger version of, they even have the gruff voices,
Yeah. Yeah. Patricia says some amazing things about America. And, we're mostly, I think, with an American group here. She talks about how, we were talking about the alchemists and the Masons and all of that, how America is an anagram for the I am race and was partially created by the divine and by Saint Germain, who is the author of the I am discourses. And, the I am consciousness is the way that Patricia has us describe our own spiritual nature. I am presence, and I am one with my Father, Mother, God. I'm also one with the I am presence of every man, woman, and child on earth. This is the prayer she has us say every day. And she says now, when we're saying that connects us back to the grid here. So I'm an American in Ireland here, and Ireland's going through its own political challenges of deep imports around freedom and truth as well. I just voted in Ireland for the first time in my life yesterday, which was a joy. Yeah, Yeah, but just to finish the thought, and then I welcome any feedback. I do believe America has a spiritual destiny. I have no doubt about this at all. And
Yeah.
I do believe that Ireland has a spiritual destiny as well. And every country in its own way is here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And each of us connect to the greater whole, but especially the United States of America. And so, this is the Pluto return. Pluto is where it was 250 years ago. And so whatever was hidden in the shadows now has to be surrendered and released.
Right. What came to mind is that, as far as the I am, one of the most common Kundalini meditations is called So Hum.
Yes.
So Hum, which is I am, I am. I mean, that is the general consensus, that the I am is that.
Yes.
I am, and that,
I am that I am.
I am that. I am that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Nisargadatta's book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a channel book from a woman named, it's a strange name. I'll have to think of it. But the book is I Am Co-Creation of Consciousness, something like this. But the beginning of the book is, I listened to this on the winter solstice in December. And the beginning of the book is, she's channeling and she says, my name is I Am, but you know me as God. And it's time that we clear up a few misunderstandings.
Oh, it's kind of like the Conversations with God Part 2.
Completely,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll find it and I'll send it to you if you like. Yeah. But and there are many channels. I mean, I was speaking about all these channels, and especially younger people I see at the moment who really are just roaring into their truth and their power and blowing my hair back, with their clarity. So I know that there's, as the vibration goes up and as we feel safe enough and strong enough to let go of our attachment to whatever it might be, cynicism, weariness, self-pity, whatever, as we're able to let that go and create a space for grace, boom, the light is going to come right in. So, you were asking me earlier, what is my personal experience of this? So as I said, last weekend was magical. This is magical right now for me with you as well. I was on 3 live gigs last week. I just collapsed after that and had a chest cold for 4 days. When Thursday I started to rise from the dead, I looked at a thing online, a message from an astrologer I follow named Sahelia, and said, this is a message from the Pleiadians. And on Thursday, June the 7th at midnight, we're going to blast a beam of blue light into the light, the star seeds of the earth. And you're going to begin to remember more of who you are and be transformed. So I'm like, well, that's interesting. Because
that's kind of when I felt that shift.
Did you indeed?
That was on the 6th. Thursday was the 6th.
Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So that happened for you, and I think that happened for me as well.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely feeling a lot more gas in my tank right now, as you might be feeling. So then the other part of it was, so then I'm listening to Russell Brand yesterday.
Yeah.
And Russell Brand is making the argument that NATO has invited American troops to stand on the border between Ukraine and Russia thinks that this is equal to an act of war, and they're ready to fire a few nukes in our direction should we do such a thing. I'm not making this up.
No, I believe you. I just think that they're always ready. They're just waiting for that moment, that excuse,
Yes, we also promised we wouldn't move an inch, and we've moved 1,000 miles in the last 14 years. So there's that little detail. But whatever happens, we'll co-create it together, and we'll be happy for it. So that happened. That freaked me out, as you might imagine. The next thing, Patricia posts a new thing, a new meditation, which I'd seen before, which is as powerful as any of her work I've ever done. It's on my Facebook page. And it was basically God speaking to us, saying, you are my child, and, you will be safe, loved, and supported. And I need you to step into your power at this time. This literally after the nuclear war conversation. So things like this are happening in my movie. That's the other part of it.
Okay.
It gets your attention.
Yeah, it does. It gets your attention. Your own mortality gets your attention very quickly.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
and the futility, the thing that bothers me about the some of the what's going on in with our world leaders is this propensity of, if I don't get what I want, I'm going to burn it all down.
Yeah.
And that's just the level of selfishness
Yeah.
is so, and I don't care what side it is, whoever's saying, you know, this willingness to tear it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, I will give you an example of this and how it backfired in a really beautiful way.
Okay.
Okay. And but this is on a much, smaller scale. I live in a condo complex. So we have, of course, an HOA, a homeowners association, who exerts a certain level of control.
Right.
Don't like questions.
Right.
Nobody should question their authority, to quote, what's his name from South Park,
Okay.
And
Right.
so there was something that was sort of dictated to the entire complex, that we're doing this and you've got 30 days to comply, et cetera, et cetera. And there was no discussion about it. It was just put on these people. And this was after certain, like, we had to have a price hike because the insurance is going up because of all the hurricanes, blah, blah, blah. So they did it to people at a time where financially it was inconvenient. So we have a Facebook group, and people were like questioning, like, why now? What are we doing? Why, I don't want to do it now. Can we reconsider? You know what they did? They closed the group. And
Ouch.
yeah, because a few people were voicing their opinions.
Right. Right. And they weren't going along with the program. Yeah.
Questioning this thing. And instead of the board just letting people work it through, have the conversation, there was no discussion and no allowance for discussion.
Right.
And then they took it away.
Sure.
And cut off I mean, my neighbor and I, who is literally like, if I knocked a wall through my wall, I'd be in her place.
Yeah.
Suddenly we weren't communicating because, you know what I mean? And me not being there, and so we were communicating outside of there, but it really cut you off from everybody, even the people living right next to you.
Right.
And it was so, to me, like, was such a microcosm of the macrocosm of the planet.
Yes, dear.
I don't want to hear,
Right.
but both sides do it. I don't want to hear anything from you that I don't totally agree with. And not only am I not going to listen to what you say, I'm going to be completely offended by it.
Right.
And I'm going to cut you off and stop listening. And I'm going to just stay in my own echo chamber of truth.
Yeah.
And so what we did, though, what's happened is I said we should do it, but I wasn't around, and I wasn't, I didn't initiate it, but I had the same thoughts. Someone said, well, you can make a group, because they made this announcement, like they sent out a letter to everyone. We're in the process of making a new group. We'll make one in a few weeks. I mean, everyone here in this, YouTube and everything knows it takes like all of 25 seconds to make a Facebook group, And so someone just was like, well, I'm not waiting. And they started it.
Right.
And now the entire condo complex, except for the board members,
except for the owners or managers. Yeah.
So that creates another issue, but at least we're talking.
Yeah.
We're not talking to the people who are trying to exact the rules.
Right. Well, I love it. I mean, democracy is a messy business, but it always,
we're all happy to talk to each other, but they're not in the group.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, what's a leader without followers? A guy going for a walk, Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to have like a little 4th of July, not 4th of July, but Memorial Day, like, cookout, and they wanted to invite anybody, but they didn't have any way to inform anybody because the Facebook group was gone.
Funny.
Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, nobody came, and they couldn't understand why nobody wanted to come.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, we're mad at you. They
right, right.
don't want to
Get,
come,
get the hint.
you
Yeah,
know?
well, it's
But,
good, you
but I
know?
just see that as what's happening in, America and other countries as well of, we don't like what you're saying, so we're going to take away your platform. Look what they did to Russell Brand. You know, we don't like what you're saying. You're not
Yeah,
agreeing with us. We're going to take away your platform and maybe destroy your life as well. You know,
yeah. Yeah, no, it's it,
I mean,
the
we're talking about the end of Mason Drive here, in Myrtle
yeah.
Beach. I've just told everybody
Well,
where we live, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I do, hon. Yeah.
Our little
Uh,
little condo complex here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's Concord and Lexington all over again, you know.
Yeah.
It's 1776 everywhere you turn.
Boy,
Yeah,
it's Jets and the, what is it in West Side Story? It's the Jets and the
the
Sharks and
sharks. The sharks from
Sharks
the
and the
Jets.
Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to come back to the apple and uh Bunny the dog and
Yeah.
uh Coco the gorilla and all that. It's like I've been listening a lot to Brett Weinstein and his wife Heather Hying, who have a thing called the Dark Horse podcast, and they're evolutionary biologists. And just like Terrence Howard stuff with chemistry and calculus and all that, it's not my stock in trade, but I'm listening in and learning and agreeing with some things and disagreeing with other things. But what I want to say is that why I like that show and why I like particularly Brett Weinstein is I find him very good at being able to analyze systems, whether it's biological or political, and how, like we're saying, there is an organic, self-sustaining, life-giving order to life if we pay attention to it. And if we mess with it or start manipulating it arbitrarily, then everything begins to get very chaotic. You know, we
Yeah.
are the earth, like we were saying earlier, and these indigenous tribes that have been doing ritual and ceremony for thousands of years in preparation for these energies and these times are reminding us, we do have power, and the confusion, the fear, the control. That's what I'm trying to get to, of course, is people that have forgotten who they are, is the most generous way to describe it. And, are the lost parts of ourself. And,
Yeah.
again, we don't want to hate or fear anyone,
Right.
the bad landlord or the bad girlfriend,
Yeah.
boyfriend, whatever. But, it's like, this is what we come to this earth to see, is our shadow reflected in relationship. And one of the most interesting things I heard, I was listening to Michael Beckwith, my old
Oh, I
buddy.
know him.
Yeah,
You know him. Yeah.
he's lovely. He was my teacher for a decade. He did a great interview on Michael Singer's podcast, and he was sharing that he's been, off with the fairies, studying with spirit every night for decades, and he really never talked about it before. And there are, like I'm saying, there are many advanced beings on the planet who have direct access to spirit, who are here to help navigate these times. And we're all connected to the same wisdom, of course, and we're remembering to listen to, trust, and follow our inner guidance. You've been a huge inspiration for me, my friend, in your personal path. All these decades we've known each other. Thank you. And this is our time to shine.
Yeah.
This is what we've been preparing for.
Yeah, it seems so. It seems so. I have to think back to my teacher, a woman I've mentioned many times, who was in Florida. Her name was Caroline Hart. If anyone here who might be in Florida had the opportunity to know her, but she was so light years ahead of her time. She had a light center in Florida. She was a hypnotherapist. She did spirit attachment release. She was one of the first in Reiki, Asui Reiki. There was 12 that were taught by Mrs. Takata, and her immediate teacher was Barbara Rubber Ray, who was one of the first 12. So Caroline was in that first group of Reiki masters that came after the first 12, and she was my teacher. And so, and she was always talking about, when this happens, when that happens, when this happened. And she left the planet right on the verge of it all coming. And I know that she's present for it. I can hear her voice so clearly, and she has such a distinguished voice. But it just, to me, I just think, all of the things that we talked about, like in the late 80s and early 90s, and in through that time that she was sort of, I don't want to say prophesizing, but sharing. Seth was the only channeled being we had at that moment. That and Course in Miracles had just come through, and all of these teachings, and you look at those and how they laid so much the foundation of what we're going through now, and you're like, this is what they've all been talking about, and this is what we're experiencing now. And there's just the part of me that wishes she had been able to stick around for it.
Oh, I'm sure she's keeping a good eye on all
I
of
mean,
us.
she may be back already. It's already been like 7 or 8 years. But what I'm saying is that she was just so, and people were fascinated by her, and they loved her dearly. I mean, she has so many students, and I would say the great deal of her students that were serious about what they were doing are doing what we are doing. They are teaching, and I miss her because she wasn't that old. She ended up getting a brain tumor, but she had the brain tumor for like 45 years.
Wow, that's incredible. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Well, she did Reiki. She was doing sound and light therapy before anybody was even knew what it was. But she had seen it all.
Yeah.
She had seen it all. And she was in Tampa. So she also had, because she was right behind, I don't know if you know Tampa, but you've got the Air Force Base there, and then the airport. And then you've got on the bay, you have all of these homes that are, and she was living, I mean, if you were to like go through her neighborhood and walk right across, you would walk into either the airport areas but there was lots of sightings of ships.
Oh, yeah.
And she lived on this cul-de-sac that was, one isn't really a cul-de-sac, but there was like a lake. And she and all these houses lived on all the sides of the lake, and a ship came right over that lake, and every house that was there, and this was in the 70s, every house that was there walked out and was like looking for like 2 hours at this ship that was just hovering. And they sat there and they had telepathic communication with this ship. All of the people did.
Wow.
And then the government came and told them,
Right. Yeah.
Mom is the word. And I've tried to find, because she saved it, and I'm actually going to see her daughter in August when I go through. And Kathleen had saved the articles from the Tampa Bay Tribune because they came and they interviewed all of the people. What was it? What did you see? But you can't find them online.
Sure.
You can't find them.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know it's important, because they want to be invisible.
It's gone. But she has the paper receipts of it and the description. I mean, this article was like pages long of the people just talking about how they were just there, and they were just, the time went very fast, but it had been hours, and they were all just standing there,
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, and she also worked with the Monroe Institute.
Okay. Yeah.
With Bill, she was personal friends with Bill Monroe, who, if you all don't know, the Monroe Institute, Robert Monroe, sorry. And there was also Bill Monroe as well.
Oh, okay.
But she was friends with them, but especially Robert Monroe. And Robert Monroe is the one that taught the remote viewing program for the military.
Right.
And Caroline was somehow, in a way that she described, but I don't exactly know what she said like about it, but she was in some way connected to that. Yeah. So it was, that's why I really wish she had been here to see all this stuff now. Yeah.
Right. Well, you're giving me good license here as we come down the home stretch. I'm loving this conversation. I'm not
No.
moment.
Please
but
continue.
sure, hun. No, that was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you're reminding me also, there was a huge UFO in Arizona that was, you know, as big as 100 football fields, something like this at some point.
Right.
You know, that was airbrushed out of existence at some time. I mean, there have been some huge sightings by lots of people from time to time.
Was that the Arizona Lights one? Was
Yes.
that's
Yes.
Bashar's ship, right?
I don't know. You may know more about that than I do.
Oh, I don't, that's all I know.
Yeah, it just
I'm-
physically, it was an unbelievably huge ship, and it
Yeah,
was seen for hours. But you know, where are we going here? So this, to me, this is, at the end of the day, as we like to say, this is all about consciousness.
Mhm.
And how to, like we were saying about the I am a minute ago, you know, through meditation and through devotion and through surrender and through tragedy and you know, crisis and catharsis and healing and crying and laughing and weeping and all the rest of it, you know, we keep coming back to this deep space inside of us, and you know, that's free of the mind for a few moments, or free of thought, like we were saying about language.
right.
And you know, you and I know, the longer you experience meditation, the deeper you go, and the more you start to open up these spaces in between thought, that gets longer and longer, and more things flow. The more open we become, the more grace flows through us, you know, energetically and in our lives. So to contrast the life of a you know, contemplative, an ascetic, you know, in the ashram, taking care of the doggies, God love you, etc., you
Yeah.
know, versus somebody who's like, you know, in the traffic, going back and forth to their 60-hour-a-week job, paying the taxes, you know, repeat, you know, they're in a high level of stress and anxiety and fear and rage and all of that. And you know, the healing crisis that we've just come out of, which we're still in the middle of, but let's say we've come out of some of it, of the last 4 years, you know, addiction and suicide and abuse and all that, you know, straight through the roof, drug use and all of that, straight through the roof, alcohol, etc. All right, so now there's a moment's pause, you know, where everyone's taking a deep breath in between rounds, and now the eclipse happens, and now these solar flares, biggest geomatic storm in 20 years, happen, and we're in this space where there's more light energy plasma coming onto the planet than for a long time, and we're feeling it more, and it's affecting us more, and it's helping us to wake up more and more. So I'm just saying, you know, that we're talking about your teachers, and I've had many of them, incredible, wonderful, heroic human beings. You know, like we're saying, we've been prepared for this time. So what is this time? Well, to very simply, you know, to my mind, it's the dark forces and the spell that's been cast over people through addiction, obsession, and compulsion, through fear and trauma. That program versus independence, freedom, creativity, inspiration, compassion, mercy, forgiveness, truth, etc., integrity, honesty, sovereignty, all of that. So, you know, this is what people are, this is what's churning inside the human population. And what has happened socially over the last 4 years is every society on the planet has begun this conflict with its own governments in many ways, about what is the social contract and what isn't any longer the social contract, what's said out loud and what's being done underneath the surface. So all of this has put intense pressure on everyone to find and follow their wisdom in order to feel that we're safe and we can take care of our loved ones, etc., and predict the future. So boy, is that a third act for any movie that you could ever imagine. And yet here comes, like we're saying, more peace, more grace, more creativity. If we open our hearts to it, it will find us. That's the invitation right now, as I see it.
And where do you find it? Inside.
Yes, your heart
That's
knows
the
the way.
point. And that's the point, because all of this distraction, this stuff, all of the problems that are, handed to us, all of the demands that are given to us, pay this, pay that, this is, and it keeps us focused outside on,
Right. Right.
I get the question, I work as a psychic, and the
Right.
question I get all the time is, will I ever be happy?
Wow.
Will I ever be happy? When is my life going to go better? And generally that question is, is laced with material pursuits. When am I going to have this car? When am I going to buy this house? When am I going to have that guy? When am I going to have this clothes? When are those? And those things are all, well and good. However, they're not the happiness.
Right. Right.
And so anything, an addiction, the desire for more, the desire for, these things are really all a spiritual pursuit. But the true abundance, true success, true happiness is not from, what kind of, whatever material thing that I can have. And that is the hardest shift to convince somebody. Like if I say, for instance, when am I going to be happy? A lot of times in a text chat or just and I'll say, well, you can be happy right now. Well, why? I don't have the house I need. And it's like, well, your happiness comes from inside. People are like, I don't want to hear that. I want an answer as to when I'm getting that house.
Right.
And so it's a difficult
My hat is off to
conversation.
you, my friend. Yeah.
And also this thing of like, when is enough enough? And you can be rich, but brings another set of problems if you're, but I mean, you can be very spiritual and be rich. I don't want to say you can't, but I'm just saying that when is enough for you? Because your pursuits become different when you are really on a spiritual path, because you realize that the things that are really important are not the material,
Right.
though I can say that from the standpoint of my basic needs being met.
Right.
And that's what these conflicts that we have in our governments are all about. Who has the right to water? Who has the right to healthcare? Who has the right to education? How much education? Who has the right to, and it's amazing to me that there's such a discussion about who has the right to move across a property line, who has the right to live here, who has the right to, have enough of what they need. And there's constant these attacks on, why should I pay for you? And
Right.
and these concepts of like the outside world being more important than the inner world, which is where our peace is, which is where our thing is. And if we were all more inner focused, the decisions that we would make about the policies that we have for our fellow man be way different.
Yeah.
It would be,
Yeah.
of course you deserve a place to live. Of course you should have healthcare. Of course you should have childcare. Should you, these, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be paid for. I'm just saying that the facility to make it possible for everyone,
Yeah.
would be much more easy than I'm a have, you're a have not, and let's keep it that way. Right.
Well said. We've become hypnotized into our exaggerated sense of self responsibility, or meeting our emotional and physical needs, as opposed to, what can I do for you? How may I be of service to you? How can I help you? Why are we here together? What is it together we can create and accomplish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, as we get ready to go, and I want you to have the closing
Sure.
statement, but
Right,
Hinduism, they always say, oh, you all believe in a lot of gods. Well, that's not true. Hinduism, there are different aspects of God. Some, it's like wearing different hats of a job in your own life. You can be a mother, sister, you can be a wife, you can be a daughter, you can be a doctor, you can be a neighbor, but you're still the same person. And in Hinduism, we don't say that everything is God. We say there's nothing but God.
Right.
Everything is God. And that realization of that we are, that I am that.
Yeah.
Of everything. If you realize that I am you, you are me, I am this couch, I am all of it. What you're doing to the other, you're doing to yourself. And that realization is not yet real enough in humanity. And that is the awakening. That is the
Yeah.
awakening. And it doesn't come from buying more stuff. It doesn't come from denying this person, the right to play loud music. It doesn't come from, it doesn't come from actively propagating violence and pain on another. If anything, that keeps us more in our ignorance because
Sure.
we justified in those things. So that's where if we want that peace, if we want that happiness, if we want that joy, then we have to go inside. It doesn't exist anywhere else.
Right, right. We have to find, that's beautiful. We have to find the bridge
Right.
that dissolves our illusions of separation.
Well, it's really meditation. We are born equipped to meditate. We don't need anything. We don't have to buy anything. We don't have to have a YouTube video or earplugs, or we have the ability to go inside. That is the key to the door to that which we want. And it is the heart. I don't meditate. Why? I can't meditate. This is what you hear. No, you don't meditate. You haven't tried to meditate, but you can meditate. Everyone can. Everyone can. And I hear people go, well, I can't. Well, you can't because you don't. But if you did, you would, and you could. That's what I would just say. But anyway.
Sure, sure.
Okay, but
All right.
I
My
believe
turn?
this. Yes, please. And I'll.
All right. Okay, no, you're fine. You're fine. Until we realize that we are our brother's keeper and we are responsible for the health and welfare of everyone that we meet every day, including ourselves, but not limited to ourselves. Until we have that sense of fellowship, then we're fighting the same battle and we're encouraging more battles. And absolutely, meditation and prayer and anything that inspires or empowers us is going to help us to transcend the illusions. And I think that's really what this sacred moment is about, is, that we're going to be creating and discovering and remembering a lot of the spiritual inheritance of humanity's gifts and giftedness and wisdom and genius, that has been fragmented and fractured and censored and ostracized and exiled and all that for thousands of years. So, the crisis that we're living through is demanding that we expand our sense of what's possible and what we are willing to try, so that we humble ourselves in front of a truth that's greater than any of us, but not limited to any of us. And we let that inspire us to create a world of love and healing and joy and wisdom. That absolutely is the other side of all of these struggles and trials and travails. And there is great joy and happiness for humanity on the road, not far away. At the moment we're willing to accept that it's possible, then we're already carrying that light and that love and that energy. And that's my greatest and deepest passion, is to strive to know that. The shift we're making is from the age of belief to the age of knowledge, and to be in a scene, to the gnosis is to know. Someone asked Ram Dass, does he believe in God? He says, no, I know God is real. Yeah. That's the difference between a practitioner and a living, breathing mystic, or between, reaching for something and realizing you're the thing that's reaching. And it's, as you said, it's within all of us. And then striving to share that as you do by hosting this great space here every week, and all the things you do of service and all the opportunities that I get to be a part of. It's a huge honor, to hold that space for humanity to remember what its spiritual nature can be, and to let go of everything that's in our way and just come back to ourselves. That's my prayer for all of us.
Yeah. Hanuman, the ape god, was a great devotee of Lord Ram. And he says that when I forget myself, I pray to you. When I remember myself, I am you.
Beautiful.
You know, and
yeah.
so the moving from praying to
Right.
and remembering is just a switch of the mind, the knowing.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So we all need to know and not believe or hope, or hope is even kind of not good. You know, over time, if you only hope, then you're still, Michael Beckwith says this all the time, hoping is acknowledging that you don't have that which you say you want, but knowing that this is coming is better. And knowing who.
Hope has to ultimately lead to being fulfilled.
Yes.
You know, otherwise it's wishful thinking and all of that. But you know, again, like, to come back full circle, I mean, what a great conversation. You know, the beginning of, you know, pain is the beginning of wisdom. The duality of good and evil, black and white, 3D, right and wrong, up and down, you know, was the beginning of this journey of thousands of years or thousands of lifetimes. And, you know, Spirit says, okay, you've gotten all that. Now let's move on to the next thing, which you're going to enjoy ever so much more, because nothing is hidden and everything is revealed. And so you don't have to pretend or wonder. It's just going to be right there in front of you. If you want it, there it is. If you think of that person, there they are. If you're thinking of this, you're going to be experiencing it. Wow, that's powerful. We'll see how we do with that.
Yeah. Lou, it's been so amazing to have you. I love our conversations as well. And
thank you, buddy.
I would like it if you would end with the blessing.
I have a song. Will I give you a song?
Oh no, end with a song. Yeah,
Yes.
let me put you on full screen here.
All right, let me change my speaker.
Lou's gonna do a song. That's awesome.
Thank you. That was jolly good for a Saturday, believe me.
All right.
Yeah. So this is my song, Take Command. Lift me from the past, make me strong and fast, nail my life to the mast, with the wind of love from above never ends. Show me your heart of gold, walk by me down the darkest road. Teach me what you know. Let me pull the sword from the stone with my own hand as we take command. It's a life where you change again. If you're brave, you may save a drowning friend. But there's one already stretching out a hand. Will you take command? Use me as you do. Make me wise when I'm a fool. Teach me the only rule, that I may better serve my fellow man. I know the ground is holy where we stand. Help me take command. inside your peace, inside your plan. I'm the equal of each woman, child, and man. Love is all that is real, all what I am. Love is all in all, foe and friend. Love is all in all, beginning and end. Love is all I am, that I am, when we take command. As we take command, help me take command.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, thank you.
So I wish you a fantastic week. We're going to go off quickly because the next class is coming in. But thank you. Have a wonderful
My
week,
pleasure,
everyone.
honey. Love
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Love you too. Love you
Peace
so
and
much.
blessings.
Peace and blessings. We'll talk soon.
Okay, cheers.
Okay. All
Bye,
right.
hon.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go and let
You're mute, Karen.
oh, goodness. Okay, I was saying we're going to let everyone go. The consciousness class will be starting at 1:15. If you are interested and you haven't signed up for the consciousness class, you can email consciousness@hucolo.org, I think, or it's either consciousness@hucolo. No, I'm even wrong. It's classes@hucolo.org, but it might be classes@hucolo.com. So email both and you can sign up for the class that's starting in just 15 minutes, but they are checking the email. So next week, Jim will be here and we'll see everybody. Sorry, I'm rushing, but just trying to get out of here so they can get it. But love everyone. Thanks to everyone on YouTube. Thanks to everyone in the Zoom room. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.